Good morning, everyone. I would first like to respectfully acknowledge that Fleming College is situated on Mississauga lands and the traditional territory covered by the William Treaties. I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of President Maureen Adamson and members of the senior management team. I would also like to welcome Fleming College Board Chair Fred Clifford and St. Joseph at Fleming Board Chair Teresa Paget. Thank you for taking the time to attend our Remembrance Day service. Similar services are being conducted at other Fleming College campuses and in communities large and small across Canada. Prior to beginning, I would like to ask everyone to please place your cell phones on silent. The order of events is listed on the program cards that have been handed out. Across Canada and in many other countries, people gather on November 11th to honor the courage and devotion of brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice of giving their lives for their country. The hostilities of the First World War ceased on November 11th, 1918 at 11 a.m., the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The following year marked the first observance of a day to remember and honor those who died, as well as give thanks for the sacrifices of those who came back from serving their country. Since then, Canadians have fought other conflicts and many have given their lives so that we might enjoy freedom today. They too should be remembered. 2022 marks the 101st anniversary of the poppy. In 1921, the poppy was adopted by the Royal Canadian Legion as our flower and symbol of remembrance. The poppy was first made famous by the most influential poem of the First World War in Flanders Fields, which will be read later in the program. We remember and reflect today on Canada's participation in the two world wars and Korea. We remember Canadian peacekeepers that were killed on various missions around the world. We remember the war in Afghanistan, the largest Canadian military deployment since the Second World War, where more than 40,000 Canadian Armed Forces members served from 2001 until 2014. Of the 40,000 Canadian Armed Forces members, 158 soldiers gave their lives and more than 2,000 were physically wounded. Canada's contribution to peacekeeping and preservation of freedom reminds us of the loss and suffering of those that died and the physical horrors and psychological wounds of those that survived. We remember today those for whom the war still rages as victims of post-traumatic stress and life-altering wounds. The tragic killing of Corporal Nathan Cirillo at the War Memorial in Ottawa, the killing of Warrant Officer Patrice Vincent in the Saint Jean de Richelieu in 2014, and the recent accidental training death of Corporal James Choi in Wainwright, Alberta are all reminders that those serving in our military put themselves at risk even when they're not in a combat zone. We also honor their service and sacrifices today. Many Indigenous peoples served and fought with distinction in both world wars and in Korea. It's estimated that about 1/3 the eligible Indigenous population between age 18 and 45 enlisted during World War I. Métis and Inuit soldiers also enlisted. However, only those with status were officially recorded by the Canadian Expeditionary Force. Many lost their status because they were away for more than 4 years. Locally, more than 50 Indigenous veterans from Hiawatha and Curve Lake First Nations are identified on the Indigenous Veterans Tribute List. Murray Waytung, Army signalman in the Second World War, enlisted into the Canadian military in August of 1942, receiving many awards and accolades for his service, and returned home in 1945. In 2021, a private member's bill was enacted in his name, the Murray Waytung Community Service Act. This bill honors not only his service and contributions to community, but also all the First Nation veterans who voluntarily gave years of their life in service to this country. More than 7,000 First Nations men and women volunteered during the First and Second World Wars. This is just one example of the distinguished service and sacrifice made by Indigenous war veterans. In a moment, the flag will be lowered while the last post is played. There will then be 2 minutes of silence, followed by the act of remembrance read by Chief Murray C. Rod, retired. Please follow along on your program and reply where it says all.
They shall not grow old as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor their years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
We will now carry on with the laying of the wreaths. Representing Fleming College Community, President Maureen Adamson. Representing the Board of Governors, Fred Clifford. And representing the fallen soldiers, Major Carolyn Rod. Representing Wounded Warriors, Luke Bentvelzen. Representing Indigenous Veterans, Liz Stone. And representing the Student Administrative Council, Lois Roy and Amisha Chawla. Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae from Guelph, Ontario, was a doctor with the Canadian Expeditionary Force with the First World War. On May 2, 1915, during the Second Battle of Ypres in the Flanders region of Belgium, Alexis Helmer, a close friend of McCrae's, was killed. McCrae performed the burial ceremony himself. The very next day, he composed the now famous poem, In Flanders Fields. Our reading of Flanders Field will be led by Maureen Adamson, President of Fleming College. Please feel free to follow along on the back of your program and read out loud.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amidst the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up your quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you, Maureen. The war in Ukraine is a reminder that peace is hard won and freedom isn't free. Before we depart from this solemn remembrance, please listen to the words of Canadian singer J.P. Cormier as he reminds us of the ongoing cost to Canadian veterans in his song, Hometown Battlefield.
Got home from the service as the spring began its turn. 12 long months away. He folded up his uniform with the medals tucked inside. Started living for today. But the present could not find him, nor could his wife and kids. He was there, but he was gone. Soon his only comfort was a bottle and his gun. Something right that went so wrong. And the silence keeps on coming as the movie plays again. You can smell that yellow dust and death hanging on the wind. And we thought the war was over, but the headlines do reveal that another soldier died today on the hometown battlefield. He sits outside the courthouse with his pant legs tucked away, and no one knows his name. One wrong step there in the sand put him where he is today. One more just the same. All his memories live there in the space below his knees, back when he was whole. But that IED didn't just relieve him of his legs, it blew apart his soul. And the silence keeps on coming as the movie plays again. You can smell that yellow dust and death flying on the wind. And we thought the war was over, but the headlines do reveal that another soldier died today on the hometown battlefield. And if you're wearing loafers, you ain't walked the burning sands, and you ain't never had to shoot another living man. It don't matter if we won, it don't matter if we lost. They were following their orders, no matter the cost. So I remember what they've given when I see my flag unfurled, free against the sky. And the way we seem to lose them when they get back to the world. Can someone tell me why? That the silence keeps on coming as the movie plays again. You can smell that yellow dust and death hanging on the wind. Oh, we thought the war was over, but the headlines do reveal that another soldier died today on the hometown battlefield. Yes, we pray the war is over, but the headlines do reveal that another soldier died today on the hometown battlefield.
This concludes our service. Thank you for taking a few moments out of your day to remember our veterans. Please feel free to pin your poppy to the wreath at the base of the flagpoles.
On behalf of President Maureen Adamson and all the Fleming community, I want to thank Constable Alyssa Weatherby, two-time alum, 11-year employee of Fleming College, for joining us today in this act of remembrance. Thank you, Alyssa. Please join me as we put our poppies on a wreath. Thank you.